What if I told you that you didn't have to hear those annoying high frequencies or the screams of people in agony ever again? That's exactly what the blue pill from the Matrix does. I know what I would choose. Nice and quiet. Nice and quiet. What if I told you that you too could enjoy the great benefits of using audio filters yourself with just two very simple components? A resistor and a capacitor. It's going to be wild. Wild. In the previous video, I talked about frequency-dependent voltage splitters, which I'm also going to call filters. And I draw it a little bit differently here, but it's kind of the same thing. I just put the resistor horizontally, but they're still in series, and with these little things. Also, my power source is now AC because this only works with frequencies. So you need an AC power source, which is like audio signal probably. So this can have a variable frequency. Now, this thing, it gets a high resistance. This capacitor gets a high resistance at low frequencies. So all the voltage will go over this capacitor. So there will be high voltage signal going through there, because this is in parallel, this part of the circuit. This is like your output of the filter. So what does this do? Well, it gives a high signal with a low frequency, but apparently it also gives a low signal, quiet signal, when there's a high frequency, because then it doesn't care. All the voltage is going to go over this resistor here. There's a graph for that, and it looks like this. Focus. 20 hertz, 20 kilohertz for our human ear things, and the graph just says low frequencies is high signal, and then it comes down. We also call it a high cut filter. I don't really like to use that word. I use low pass, or LPF. Let me just write that down. LPF. And you see that on mixers or equalizers or anything like that. You see LPF, which is low pass filter. This is the reason I don't like it saying high cut, because you don't find HCF, you find LPF. So use the pass variance. Now what would happen if I swap these two things around? In this way, when there's a low frequency, there's a high voltage here. But if this was the resistor, this resistor is now getting a very low voltage. But if we swap them around, this would be a low signal instead of a high signal with a low frequency. So a bit of a roundabout way of thinking, but just accept that it does pretty much the opposite. If you turn these two around, there's a graph for that, and non-surprisingly looks like this, which is kind of like the opposite of this, right? How do we call it? Well, you probably already guessed it, or you already know it. And it's not a low cut filter. You could call it that, but I call it a high pass filter, or HPF. This is the way you'll find it on a mixer, HPF. And what it does is it only passes the high frequencies. So that's useful. We have two components, a resistor and a capacitor, which together in this configuration will cut out certain frequencies, or pass certain frequencies, I should say. What if I add two of them together? Like so. I just put them together, right? Well, then I'll cut both the high and the low. I'll pass only the middle, which is what we call a band, a frequency band. And that graph looks like this. This is a band pass filter, BPF. Now, it's your challenge to figure out how to, just like this thing, how to make a bandpass filter with components. I think you'll figure that out. It's not that hard. Lastly, I want to talk about how if you're cutting those frequencies, your signal is dropping. You can see here, there is always some voltage going over this resistor, and well, you're cutting frequencies out, right? You're only passing certain frequencies. So you get a lower signal. You get signal loss, if you will. And these are called single pole, one pole. This is one pole of a filter, single pole filters, and they are passive. That means they don't require extra power. So you can just put this in a cable. You can just solder this into a cable, and that would work. You don't need additional power, which is nice, and that's why they're called passive. But you also have active filters, which try to remedy the problem that you're losing signal when you're doing this by adding transistors or any type of amplification. I think we'll be talking about amplification sort of soon. I'm not that good at amplification. We'll delve into it together. But you also have active filters. This is the simplest form of a filter, and it's called a single pole passive filter. That's all you need to know about filters for now. And as always, while I am a licensed physics teacher, this does not make me an expert on the subject. I'm wrong sometimes. Sometimes I know I am, but simplify my explanation at the expense of being completely correct. Sometimes I actually don't know. In either case, I've got a pretty good grasp on the laws of nature and how things work. For the purposes of these videos, the exact correct descriptions of phenomena is not important. I'm trying to give students a new way to look at this world with a technical and logical view. Please feel free to contact me to discuss any of the subject matter within video. Have a good one. Why is there people screaming?